guys, what's up? Killjoy Jake here, and instead of having friends, I have horror movies. Today we are going to be pitting the sequel versus the original of the Insidious movies. Now in the poll that I put on YouTube, you guys voted for Chapter 2 out of 2, 3, and 4, which is completely mind-boggling to me, but I guess we're doing this. Now before I start talking about these movies, I'm gonna need you guys to like this video and subscribe for more horror content. Alright, now let's get into it. Get over here! Now before I pit these movies against each other, let's talk a little bit about them. Insidious is a 2010 American-Canadian supernatural horror film directed by James Wan, written by Leigh Whannell, and stars Patrick Wilson, Rose Byrne, and Barbara Hershey. It is the first installment in the Insidious franchise, and the third in terms of the series' in-story chronology. The story centers on a couple whose son inexplicably enters a comatose state and becomes a vessel for a variety of entities in an astral dimension known as the Further, who want to inhabit his body. The film was made for a $1.5 million budget and grossed over $99 million. Talk about a profit margin. Insidious is one of the many films that really launched Blumhouse into the main horror scene, also including the Paranormal Activity movies and Sinister. In fact, at one point, there was even going to be an Insidious and Sinister crossover movie that just never happened, unfortunately. The sequel, Insidious Chapter 2, came out in 2013 and is once again directed by James Wan and written by Leigh Whannell. The film once again stars Patrick Wilson and Rose Byrne, reprising their roles from the last movie, and the film is the last in the series chronologically. Now personally, I'm a really big fan of both of these movies, so let's see which of the Insidious movies is more insidious. Haha. That's comedy for you. So let's start with the good. Starting off with Insidious from 2010, a big positive for me is the Lipstick Demon, or Little Lippy Boy as I like to call him, is played by Joseph Bishara, who is an absolutely incredible actor. His physicality in this role serves for an unbelievably terrifying performance. You can say what you want about the guy looking like Darth Maul, but he haunted my nightmares for a very long time. The difference is now I only wet the bed sometimes. This film also has a very chilling score. The score for this film, also composed by Joseph Bishara, has this really creepy, like, old piano sound to it that I just freaking love. On top of that, you also have these screeching violins that prove to really build tension in suspenseful scenes. I love the casting for this film. Patrick Wilson and Rose Byrne, absolutely great choices for your leading role. On top of that, you also have Specs and Tucker, played by Leigh Whannell, the writer of this film, and Angus Sampson, a close friend of his. They serve for the much needed comedic relief in the later acts of this film, and then Lynn Shay is of course incredible as Elise Rainier. I'm so happy that all of these movies kind of follow her a little bit, except for the second one. After seeing the first one, I really thought that she was gone and she wasn't going to be in any of the sequels, and I'm really glad that 3 and 4 really center around her character. Easily one of the best characters on screen throughout this whole film, and oddly enough, she's in the 2 biggest horror films about dream demons. The girl's got a thing for dreamins. Thanks, Matt. I appreciate that joke. The film also has some of the scariest jump scares I have ever seen in a movie. Come on, you know you your pants the first time you saw this guy's face.
I can still hear that voice.
Moving on to Insidious Chapter 2, I really love the scenes in the Further in this movie that connected to the first one. For example, when Josh is talking to his younger self and he kind of points out the way for him, like that's what that was about all this time. And it goes back to the scene in the first movie where Josh kept hearing someone knocking at the door and then he goes back downstairs and the door is wide open. That was actually him the whole time. That was mind-blowing. I really like that about this movie. This one makes you think a lot more than the first movie. I think the story of the Lamberts ends really nicely. Although I miss the Lamberts in the latter sequels, I really like that this film kind of ends their whole story in a positive way, and not all of them getting butchered to death, which it was pretty close there at the end, man, I'll tell you what. Now it's time we move on to the bad. For Insidious 2010, moving into 2 homes on a teacher's salary? I think not. Come on, Insidious, what are you doing, man? That's a bit of a stretch to move out of the house. I think that's a cool idea, because usually in paranormal movies, they just kind of hang out in the house and see what happens, and it usually ends up leading to their death. In this one, they actually do move, but it's not justified. There's no way on a high school teacher's salary you're moving houses twice in the same kind of rough time period. I don't know, man, I don't buy it. Moving on to Insidious Chapter 2, there's There's no new monsters in this film, and the monster they do use kinda sucks. What really sucks about this bad guy is that you're villainizing people who have had like traumatizing experiences. And you could also look at it as being kinda like transphobic and villainizing people who are trans. It's really not cool to do that in your movies, so I'm just really not a fan of that. I've talked about this in one of my other Insidious videos where I ranked all 4 of the movies. You can check that out up here. But besides that, what's so great about the other Insidious movies is there's always this new creepy monster introduced, and we didn't get that in this movie. I miss your creepy monster designs, man! This film really isn't that scary. Compared to the first one that had excellent timing when it came to jump scares, this one is so telegraphed. You know everything that's about to happen. The only scene that I actually really like is the scene where Rose Byrne's character is walking down the hallway and you can see the mom just sitting on the couch. That's pretty creepy. But besides that, that's the only scene from this movie that was like, okay, that was like Insidious, but everything else is not Insidious level horror. It's like Curse of La Llorona level jump scares, which is setting the bar pretty low. Also, if you think about it, the plot of this movie is kind of just like Among Us, and Josh is looking pretty sus. I don't know, man. Josh didn't know Renee's song. That's pretty sus. I think he's an imposter. So am I giving out the Ugly Award to either of these films? In fact, I am. Insidious Chapter 2, I'm sorry, but I gotta give you the Ugly Award, man. Besides the conclusion to the whole Lambert family story, the rest of this movie just kinda sucks. So I know all of y'all really like this movie, but you know what? Fight me, internet. The clear and easy winner here is the original Insidious. I love this film. It's one of my all-time favorite horror films. You can see that in the video that I posted yesterday. And truly, it has one of the coolest creature designs I've ever seen. And like I said before, you can say it looks like Darth Maul, but Darth Maul's pretty scary. He kind of looks like if Animal from the Muppets and Darth Maul had a secret love child. So what do you guys think about these rankings? Tell me what you think about it in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching my Insidious sequel versus the original. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more horror content. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at KilljoyJake1 and on Instagram at Killjoy_Jake. And as always, don't forget to kill it out there, y'all. Ah!